to the Prophecy Club. In yesterday's program, I began talking about this fella that has written an article called Watching for the Hook. I disagree with several of the things in there, but I'm not trying to beat up him. I'm not going to even mention his name, but what I do want to do is bring some truth to you. So, first of all, his article is called Watching for a Hook. Well, if you go to Ezekiel 38, verse 4, it says, and this is talking about the Battle of Armageddon, which is on the day of the Lord, which is at the seventh trump, the day Jesus returns at the very end, okay? It says, I will turn you back. That's talking about the Russians and all of her allies that are coming down through Jerusalem. The Euphrates River has dried up. All of the kings of the east are coming over. All of the world's armies are all gathered around, and they're going down to attack little Israel, specifically Jerusalem. And it says, I will turn thee back, and I will put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And then it gives a list of who's going to be attacking, but we're going to skip that for right now. The point is, what is the hook in the jaw? This is something that God makes the Russians and all of her Islamic allies come down to attack Israel, because God has said that he's going to make Israel a burdensome stone, and anybody that troubles themselves with Israel, he will crush, and he will crush them to powder. And he's referring to the fact that when his glory hits the earth and burns up all of the wood, the hay, the stubble, the tares, in other words, all of the sinners, that when his glory hits them, they literally fall to the ground in a pile of ashes and bones. Malachi 4:3 says there'll be ashes under the soles of our feet. In Zechariah 14, it talks about how when this glory hits them, their eyes consume out of their sockets, the tongue is consumed out of the mouth, the flesh is consumed, and that word in the Hebrew for consume means to melt or to vanish. It is consumed off of the bones, and all of this happens before the soldier can even hit the ground. I know that sounds like nuclear, but it's not nuclear, because I will do this to magnify myself in the eyes of all nations. So it's not nuclear. It is the glory of God. Okay, so back to the question. So what is the hook in the jaw of the Russians and her Islamic allies? What is it that draws them down? Well, I know a lot of people have speculated on a lot of different things, but I think I've got the answer. And it came October 26, 2001, when the Lord gave Leslie a dream in the night. I'm not going to cover all of the dream, just a couple of paragraphs. She says, the scene shifted to a map of Israel. I saw a massive oil flow come from the boot of Asher to the southwest end and wrapped around the eastward to the southeast end of the Dead Sea. I asked the Lord what this meant. He said, quote, now this is God talking, the oil flow will come flowing from the boot of Asher to the southwest and around to the southeast end of the Dead Sea. Now, if you look at Israel and you look at what she's talking about, Asher is in the northeast part of Israel, whereas the Dead Sea is in the southwest part of Israel. And so as that oil would come flowing from the boot of Asher down to the southwest end of the Dead Sea and around to the southeast end of the Dead Sea, it forms a hook. Now, I wasn't getting the revelation on this. I was speaking at our church, the Spirit of Prophecy Church in Plano, and all of a sudden, one of the congregation members raises his hand and he says, hey, that looks like a hook. I wonder if that is the hook in the jaw of the Russians to bring them down upon the mountains of Israel. Well, I believe he's right. I mean, all of a sudden, everybody in the room, the mouth dropped open. We all saw it. We all got the revelation all at the same time. What's he talking about? Why is that the hook? Well, let's go on down here. He says that he's going to bring the Russians down on horses and horsemen. Okay, so the detractors have said, wait a minute, this can't be talking about a modern war. This wouldn't be the last battle of the earth. This wouldn't be when the armies have filled themselves up with all the technology and all the advanced armaments, they would never come down on horsebacks. Oh, yes, they would. Why? Well, Hayseed Stevens said that he had done some DNA testing of all of the oil in Israel and all of the nations surrounding Israel. He explained that oil has a DNA. He says, and so you can tell from what deep source that oil is coming from. And he said it all has the same DNA, meaning it's all coming from the same source. And one of the things he thought would happen is when Israel hits the massive amounts of oil that the Bible in 30 different verses says is there, when they hit their milk and honey, when they begin to pump out massive amounts of oil from Israel, it will begin to dry the wells of the Arabs. Now, doesn't that make sense? That one of the reasons, matter of fact, the reason that Russia comes down to attack Israel is because Israel is the source oil for the Middle East. And when she begins to pump out that oil and sell it to the world, all of a sudden the wellhead pressures begin to drop in all of the nations surrounding Israel because Israel is pumping their oil out before the pressure can push the oil out for miles and miles and miles in all directions out to the other Arab countries, out to their enemies. And by pumping it out at the source, not only do the wellhead pressures drop, but they continue to drop until finally there's no oil. And could that be the reason the Russians come down to attack Israel for the Battle of Armageddon on horseback? Is because they are out of oil. They have to come down. Did you know that one of the things I heard through the grapevine is the real cause of World War II was because the U.S. was cutting off oil to the Japanese? They didn't have a choice. They had to enter World War II. Now, that's a story I heard. I have not confirmed that, but that's what I heard. I think it sounds interesting in light of this. Now, let's continue on with what this brother said in this article. He's making several points here, and this is point number 5. Fifth, on September 18th, 2014, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Germany, began what they called their final round of negotiations with Iran over the abandonment of Israel's quest for nuclear weapons. Furthermore, the two sides have agreed to resolve all of their differences by November 24, 2014, so that the P5+1 and Iran are now less than 2 months away from their self-imposed deadline. The talks are going nowhere. Now, what he's trying to say is he's saying that Armageddon is about to take place. He believes that Israel will attack Iran, and when they do, then that brings Iran and Russia all down to reattack Israel, and he believes that's going to be the Battle of Armageddon, which takes place on the Day of the Lord. Now, in yesterday's broadcast, I've already covered that cannot happen. You got the statue of Daniel chapter 2. Until you get a world government that has divided the globe into 10 global regions, Jesus can't come. Daniel chapter 7. Until you have the 4th beast that has stamped the residue of all of the former beasts, meaning the world government is in place, and it has done away with the first beast, which is the lion that had eagle's wings, which is England and America, and it's done away with the second beast, which is the bear, the Russian bear, and it's done away with the third beast, which is the Islamic Caliphate, which is a 4-nation confederacy. Each nation has a ruler, and those nations work together to worship Islam. So we don't even have the third beast. We don't have a caliphate of 4 nations working together under the heading of Islam. So we can't have the 4th beast. So this absolutely positively cannot happen. Now, it's not saying that Israel won't attack Iran. That may happen. But what I'm saying, it will not be Armageddon because we are not close enough to it. We're not in the world government. You know, we do err not knowing the scriptures. But let's continue with what the brother says because there's some important things that we can learn. It goes on to say, in addition to this, because of the Western sanctions on Russia over her actions in Ukraine, Russia has threatened to retaliate against the West by siding with Iran in these negotiations. Now, here's the point. I don't know of one prophecy from a real prophet that ever has said or seen or been shown that Israel will attack Iran. Not one. To the contrary, what several of them have been shown is that the Arab nations will attack Israel. None, any place, no place in the Bible does it ever say Israel will attack Iran or any other nation. She has always got her advance in land because someone attacks her and she defeats them. Now let's go on to his next point. Seventh, Russia's economy is in trouble, he says. By the way, I disagree. Russia is actually the number 2 oil producer in the world. They're selling most of their oil to the oil-thirsty nation of China. China has paid off all of her IMF, International Monetary Fund, loans. She is ready for war now, but she continues to build up and strengthen her war machine. Russia is preparing to fight and believes she will win World War III. However, the prophets say World War III is coming, but Russia will lose. Now, let's continue. Seventh, Russia's economy is in trouble, he says. Mr. Putin is still financing a covert war in Ukraine. Western nations have gradually upped sanctions on Russia, and the sanctions are finally beginning to take hold. Russia threatened to cut off the flow of natural gas to the EU, but the loss of income could be devastating. The value of the ruble has dropped 15% against the dollar this year, and a recession is looming. Russia will soon have to change her ways, deal with a recession, or find a prey with silver and gold, cattle and goods. Well, there again, he's misunderstanding. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 38, and let's see where he's misunderstanding there. Now, in the first 9 verses, it clearly is talking about Russia and her Islamic allies coming down to attack Israel. However, in verse 10, it changes. Now, let me back up to verse 9. This is part of the description of Russia attacking Jerusalem. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. We'll be right back after this message. Prophet Leslie will be speaking each Sunday morning through the end of December, making a 10 DVD set called Error in the Church. This will help you to recognize a biblically based church and avoid those with errors in doctrine, committing abomination, heresy, apostasy, and blasphemy. Many churches are like a poison M&M. They look good, taste good, but they'll kill you spiritually. Like Chronicles 20:20 says, believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, and so shall you prosper. And the topics are mysticism, New Age of the Christian Church, the Kundalini Spirit Warning by Andrew Strom of Australia, New Reformation Church or Kingdom Now Theology Church, Chrislam, Seeker-Friendly, Seeker-Sensitive Church, the Emergent Church, Postmodernism, the G12 Vision Church, Tazi Worship Church, Tangible Kingdom Movement Church, Viserian Siberian Jesus Church, Hyper Grace Movement, Yoga in the Church, 12 topics, 10 DVDs valued at $300, and you can place your order for them now for just a gift of $180. She'll be speaking 9:30 to 10:30 each Sunday through the end of December at the Spirit of Prophecy Church, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. That's on the corner of Park and K in Plano. No charge, of course. See you there. And now, back to the program. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. And I believe that cloud, you see, when you're in that desert area, that the sand is so fine, it's difficult, for example, like airplanes to take off, helicopters land, because the sand is so fine, it just flies every place. And if there's a large amount of people walking, or cars moving through it, or horses walking over it, it just creates a giant cloud. And I think that's what it's talking. In other words, there's so many people in this army, they come down and they make like a cloud that covers the land from all of the dust coming up. Now, here's the point. Here's the part where it changes. It changes from talking about Israel, and I believe it changes to talking about America. Yes, America is still there. See, there's 2 destructions or judgments coming to America. There's 3 places in the Bible where it says Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Isaiah 21 verse 9 says Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Revelation 14:8, same thing. Revelation 18:2, same thing. And I believe it's saying that America is attacked twice. She's judged twice. The first one is near total destruction when the Russians attack. Nuclear bombs land all up and down the east and west coasts, and then up from the south comes Mexico, all of her allies, and then down from the north comes Russia, and so there's a big battle. And there's, of course, a lot of Christian blood spilled. This is where they're lopping off a lot of heads. This is, the fulfillment of, 6 more verses talking about the blood of saints. Revelation 16:9, slain for the word of God and the testimony that they held. Revelation 6:10, avenge their blood on them that dwell on the earth. Revelation 16:6, shed the blood of saints and prophets. Revelation 17:6, drunken with the blood of saints, with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. Revelation 18:20, rejoice over her, apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. Revelation 18:24, the blood of prophets and saints have all slain upon the earth. So those 6 verses are talking about the Christian killing, lopping head off machine that will be started. It starts in America, but it doesn't just stop in America. It will go around the globe, hence the mark of the beast. All that don't take it lose their head. Now, here's where it turns to start talking about America. Verse 11, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. All right, now, who's it talking about? Israel or America? If you've been to Israel, you find that there are walls and gates and bars on people's windows every place. But as you walk around America, you don't see a lot of walls and gates. Very few people have bars on the windows, yes, in some of the bad places, but it's not a norm. This is not talking about Israel. It has switched what it's saying. Let me back up verse 10. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall come to pass. At the same time, in other words, at the same time Russia is attacking Israel at the Battle of Armageddon. It's kind of like, for example, as I'm talking here, at the same time I'm talking on this microphone, I'm also reading from the Bible. And at the same time, I'm also got my keyboard in my lap. At the same time, I can hear the air blowing in the background. So, see, there's several things happening at once. And so what it's saying is, as Russia comes down to attack Israel at the Battle of Armageddon, this is not World War III, okay? At the Battle of Armageddon, at the same time, she is also involved, and by the way, this is not just Russia, this is the whole world. This is the world army headed up by the Antichrist. But he says, at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. That's not Israel, that's America. I will go to them that are at rest. That's not Israel, that's America. That dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, without bars, nor gates, to take a spoil. I think it's very, very interesting. Take a spoil. Well, look, if you go to Israel, what kind of spoil do you find? Well, at that time, you'll find oil, which is, of course, a large part of the word spoil. So there's no question they want to go to Israel for a spoil. But most of the spoil, the booty, is in America. It goes on to say, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited. That's America. We used to be a desolate nation. That are now inhabited, upon the people that are gathered out of many nations. That's America. Which has gotten cattle and goods. Have you ever been to Israel? Ever ordered a steak? I have. It's about thick as bacon. It's what I'm saying is they don't have very good cattle over there. Who is the nation that is famous for the best cattle on earth? Where do you get the best steak in the world? And the answer is Omaha. That grain-fed beef. They're not talking about Israel here, brothers and sisters. This is talking about America, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Okay, now, if you look at Israel and you look at the whole landmass where Israel is, well, it's way over on the east side. It's right next to the Mediterranean Sea. But if you look at the landmass of the North American continent, what is in the very center? That would be America, with Mexico south, Canada north. So this is not talking about Israel. This is talking about America. Now, let's go on. Sheba and Dedan. Who's Sheba and Dedan? Well, that's our friends down in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Oman, those guys are actually friends with us, okay? Oil friends, I might say. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish. Who's Tarshish? That's Britain. With the young lions thereof. Who is the old lion? Well, that's England. Who are the young lions? Well, that's many of the nations that England conquered and even pay taxes to this day back to England. Even just, for example, Hong Kong just recently was turned over to be a free nation, but who originally owned and controlled Hong Kong? And the answer is England, okay? Those are the young lions. So England, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? But notice, Saudi Arabia and Britain and all the young lions thereof, this is Armageddon. This is not World War III, guys. At Armageddon, they say, I don't like what you're doing, but they don't stand up and lift a finger to stop it. So this is the world army coming to destroy America. Now, how does this fit in even with Revelation 17? You remember Revelation 17:16. Where it says the 10 horns, now that is your global government that has divided the globe into 10 global regions, okay? The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, that's the Antichrist, these shall hate the whore. Who's it talking about here? It's talking about the Catholic Church. And, of course, where is probably the most Catholic Church members located? The answer is America. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. That's what it's talking about. This is associated with Armageddon. So this brother is wanting to say that Armageddon is about to take place. He's got things out of order. He, maybe loved the Lord. I'm sure his name's written in the book of life, but he's not understanding prophecy right. And I think it's real important that we really run after to the truth and really to understand the truth. Now let's go on to his next point. Based upon the Jewish Talmud, not the Bible, some say the tetrad of blood moons are an omen of war for Israel. It's a debatable issue, but no one can deny that the first moon in the current tetrad occurred on April 15, 2014, the Feast of Passover. The next blood moon will occur on October 8, 2014, the Feast of Tabernacles. And there will be 2 more in 2015. What he's trying to say is that Israel is about to go to war. I do not think so. Now, again, there may be that I'm talking about a serious war. There may be an attack. Maybe they'll attack Iran. I don't think so. There may be some other small skirmishes. They have those all the time. I just had one here recently where the other neighbors were firing some 400 some odd rockets into Israel. Now, if Mexico were to fire one rocket into America, there would be blood to pay. Okay, we wouldn't put up with that, but Israel has to put up with a lot of that. So the question is, do the prophecies say the next war in Israel will be the World War III? Yes, I believe the next big war will. However, may be some small skirmishes. Also, we believe that Israel will give the Palestinians a state, but it'll be a temporary measure to allow Israel to strengthen their military. How are they going to strengthen their military? Where are they going to get the money to strengthen the military? Well, we believe that oil, massive amounts of oil, will be discovered in Israel, because when Israel prophesied to Esau and Jacob, Jacob got the firstborn blessing. He got the double portion. Esau only got the normal blessing. So Esau, representing all the Arabs, all of the oil they have, Israel got to have at least twice. That's Bible, brothers and sisters. We also believe that this oil will finance the building up of Israel's war machine, and that since Israel will never be kicked out of her land again, she'll never lose ever another battle. She's back in her land. She'll never be uprooted from the land, says the Bible. That means Israel will emerge the great victor of World War III. Israel will get back all of her land from the Nile to the Euphrates. And for a brief moment, as the Bible says, she'll be raised up like an herb, which is the fastest growing plant on earth just about. So she'll be raised up to be one of the richest, wealthiest, strongest nations on earth just prior to Armageddon. And that's World War III. So as the rest of the world has the clutches of the New World Order, the world government, which will eventually be headed up by the Antichrist, put their fingers around their throat and begin to squeeze those people that do know their God. Jeremiah 51, verse 50 says, let Jerusalem come into your mind. Then if you tie in Isaiah 43, 6 says, I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, my daughters from the ends of the earth. Now, who is he going to call? Everyone that is called by my name. Notice it didn't say just the Jews. It says everyone that is called by my name. For I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yea, I have made him. In other words, in these days, after World War III, after the rest of the world has been just devastated by the longest, bloodiest, worst of the 3 world wars, then those people that do know their God will move to Israel in masses, and Israel will be raised up to be one of the richest, wealthiest, strongest nations on earth just prior to the Battle of Armageddon. Well, I've run out of time, brothers and sisters, but my point is, no. World War III is close, but Armageddon is not. World War III, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years, and it's going to be the fall of America. But Armageddon, the return of Jesus, the day of the Lord, no, it's still down the road, son. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.
The Prophecy Club is on the tip of God's spear. Join the battle and prayerfully consider supporting the Prophecy Club with your gifts of support. We would not be here without your prayers and generous financial support.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Prophet Leslie will be speaking each Sunday morning through the end of December, making a 10-DVD set called Error in the Church. This will help you to recognize a biblically based church and avoid those with errors in doctrine, committing abomination, heresy, apostasy, and blasphemy. Many churches are like a poison M&M. They look good, taste good, but they'll kill you spiritually. Like Chronicles 20:20 says, believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, and so shall you prosper. And the topics are Mysticism, New Age of the Christian Church, The Kundalini Spirit Warning by Andrew Strom of Australia, New Reformation Church or Kingdom Now Theology Church, Chrislam, Seeker-Friendly, Seeker-Sensitive Church, The Emergent Church, Postmodernism, the G12 Vision Church, Tazi Worship Church, Tangible Kingdom Movement Church, Viserian Siberian Jesus Church, Hyper Grace Movement, Yoga in the Church, 12 topics, 10 DVDs valued at $300, and you can place your order for them now for just a gift of $180. She'll be speaking 9:30 to 10:30 each Sunday through the end of December at the Spirit of Prophecy Church, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. That's on the corner of Park and K in Plano. No charge, of course. See you there. In 1980, an angel came to Dmitri Duduman and told him that it is written in the Bible and that America will be defeated in 1 hour by Russia. I just made a brand new DVD covering all of the secular, real-life proof that Russia really is preparing to do exactly that. Topics are Arise, Devour Much Flesh, Russia and Prophecy, Russia Now Rich and Strong, Russia's numerous military expansions, Ukraine, and how it is making the bear angry. Russia is warning the U.S., but we're not listening. Russia is building their military, modernizing submarines, aircraft, missiles, and their army, while the U.S. is downsizing and filled with traitors and weaknesses. 2.5 hours, gift of $30. Go to prophecyclub.com or call 785-266-1112. That's The Russian Bear Rises at prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. Order today.